Imagine the single most important dollar in all of crypto, the one that holds up the whole table. Now imagine that after years, billions in circulation, and propping up half the market, it still cannot do the one thing your local credit union does every year without thinking: pass a real audit. That is Tether. That is USDT. And rather than fixing it, the people running it are doing something far more revealing. They are shopping for a country willing to look the other way. Let me show you the trick. First, what a stablecoin is supposed to be. The promise is simple. For every digital dollar out there, there is a real dollar sitting in reserve, ready to be handed back, 1-to-1. That promise is the entire reason the thing has any value at all. Take it away, and a stablecoin is just a number someone typed and asked you to trust. So the only question that has ever mattered is, are the real dollars actually there? And the way you prove that, in every serious corner of finance, is a full audit by a top firm, not a vibe. Not a letter, an audit. Here is the gap. Tether says it hired a major accounting firm in early 2025 for a full review of its reserves. Good. Except as of early this year, there is still no completed Big Four audit. None. Years into this, with the most systemically important stablecoin on Earth, and the gold standard sign-off simply does not exist. And lurking behind all of it is history. Back in 2021, the New York Attorney General and the CFTC both settled cases with Tether over what it had said about its reserves. That is the track record. So when they ask you to just trust the numbers, remember the numbers have a rap sheet. So Europe did the obvious thing. It wrote a rule with teeth. Under MiCA, the EU's crypto framework, a stablecoin has to keep at least 60% of its backing reserves as deposits in EU-supervised banks. 60%? Sitting in banks regulators can actually inspect. And Tether's response: it has not even applied for MiCA authorization, not failed it, not fought it, just declined to walk through the door, because the door requires showing what is behind the curtain. That refusal tells you more than any press release ever could. And so the shelves emptied. Through late 2024 and into last year, the biggest names in the business, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, OKX, Bitstamp, all removed or restricted USDT for their European users to stay on the right side of MiCA. Read that lineup again. The largest exchanges on Earth chose to pull the single most popular stablecoin rather than risk the regulator. They did not do that for fun. They did it because the rule was real and the backing was unproven, and they would rather lose the product than carry the liability. Now watch the pivot, because this is the whole game. Instead of submitting to Europe's rules, Tether is turning to the United States. It is moving to get authorized under the Genius Act through a U.S. entity, issuing a new coin called USAT with Anchorage Digital Bank, while publicly trashing MiCA's reserve rules as too strict. Sit with that. The rule it is running from is the one that asked it to keep your money in inspectable banks. The rule it is running toward is the one it thinks will ask less. That is not seeking the best regulator. That is forum shopping. Finding the referee most likely to wave the play on. Here is why you should care, even if you have never touched a stablecoin. The whole pitch of this technology was that you would not have to trust a faceless institution anymore. No more taking the bank's word for it. But Tether's entire model is take our word for it. The numbers are fine, the dollars are there, the audit is coming, do not look too closely. That is the exact thing crypto promised to kill. Rebuilt in the center of crypto, holding up everything. They sold you trustless and handed you the most trust me asset in the building. So when Europe throws USDT off the shelves, do not read it as Europe being mean. Read it as one of the few places that simply said, prove it, and watch the biggest stablecoin on Earth decline. The thing holding up your market either has the money or it does not. And after all these years, they still will not show you in the only way that counts. That is not a stablecoin. That is a promise with great marketing. And a promise nobody will audit is just a debt waiting for a bad day. If you are tired of trust me bro standing in for proof, that instinct is the whole point. This is the ownership stuff in practice, MXEL, where what you hold is verifiable and yours, not a promise propping up someone else's tower at mxl.com. Stay loud.